LIBOR is often dubbed the world's most important number, and you likely heard about widespread manipulation of the benchmark rate that resulted in significant fines for some banks. Despite being aware of this history, few people understand LIBOR's wide reaching role in the financial system. Hey, it's Selvin here from Lambda Edge, where we look at finance and technology. If you're new here, make sure you click that subscribe button, and all the links and everything we mentioned in this video, including the presentation, will be available in the description box below. Imagine two banks who have their balance sheet in a simplified view as here. Bank B has more cash to lend, and Bank A wants cash to be used for its upcoming payments with contract it has. This is obviously a very simplified view of how the assets and liabilities look for a bank, for two banks. The cash that's available in Bank B is of no use unless it lends to somebody, and the rate at which it lends typically is what we are looking at, what is called the LIBOR. And the rate LIBOR stands for London Interbank Offer Rate, and it's an interest rate which is calculated by the estimates submitted by leading banks in London for their borrowing and lending. This is calculated in 5 currencies and 7 borrowing periods ranging from one overnight to 1 year, and are published each business day by Thomson Reuters. LIBOR is actually a set of indexes. There are separate LIBOR rates for all the 7 different maturity rates, like you can have for an overnight, 1 month, 3 month, so on and so forth. Roughly about 350 trillion worth of assets have been benchmarked with this rate. That's how huge this rate is in terms of the financial system. And most of these are derivatives contract, like the interest rate swaps or the bank's syndicated loan and things like that. Now, what's going to be interesting thing for us in the financial world is this rate is no longer being referenced as the benchmark rate in the future. This is going to be changing in 2021 into alternate reference rate as mentioned here based on countries, which is secured overnight financing rate in the US and sterling overnight index rate in the UK, so on and so forth. Now, the key difference between LIBOR and any new alternate reference rate will not only be the way in which it is calculated, but also in the term structure. Now, LIBOR is, as I was mentioning, has a shortest of 1 day all the way up to 1 year. But there are very less alternate reference rates which have that kind of flexibility in terms of terms, meaning like term structure. The next important difference to consider is the security or the collateral that's there. LIBOR typically is unsecured and it has a credit spread based on the bank which is borrowing. That's not going to be the case in the case of the ARRs that we're looking at. And there are multiple implications to this change in which the LIBOR becomes critical for any contract that is signed in the past. How would that be implied if the LIBOR no longer is applicable on a given day, let's say in Jan of 2022? We'll look at each of these implications in the next video, but for now, this gives you a fair idea of what LIBOR is and what are the changes that's going to happen in the near future. Thanks for listening.